Hi, how's everybody doing? It's Paul from Magpie 24/7, back again out and about with another view from the road. And yes, that road is going to be heading towards St James's Park very, very shortly. It cannot wait. It feels like an absolute bastard lifetime. However, Newcastle United have been in action today, haven't they? They've lost today's pre-season friendly, the second one of the Japanese tour, going down 2-0 in Japan. To be honest, am I particularly arsed? No, I'm not. I'm not particularly arsed. I wasn't over the moon and arsed too much when we won 4-1 the other night. So I'm not going to, again, sort of start banging a drum or start throwing certain players under the bus. Because in 35-degree heat and ridiculous humidity, they've not been able to beat some Japanese team in a training exercise. I'm just not really going to give that much of a shit. You know, if we lost 2-0 and it's a Premier League game and it's a game that we should be winning and we're playing leggy and we're not at the intensity that we need to be, if we're not doing what we need to do in terms of keeping clean sheets, creating chances, getting shots away on goal, if we're making stupid decisions, if we're jumping into rash tackles and stuff like that during those games or cup games or something like that, then yes, I am clearly going to care about that. But you know, it was the same that when myself and Carl were at the Hull game. It was great. It was great to catch up with Carl. It was great to see Newcastle United supporters in fine voice back in the team. Of course it was. But you've got to put it into context. It is a training exercise. It is no more than that. So, no, I'm not going to throw players under the bus. Some of the comments that I've seen on social media are absolutely, totally, and utterly, ridiculous. You've got players who have come back from all over the world. They're at different stages with regards to pre-season programme. We're up against an opposition who are playing at the moment. They are in action. They are in peak condition. And yes, we are a Premier League team, and I get all of that, but results absolutely and utterly mean nothing in pre-season. What does it mean to smash a Japanese team? What does it mean to absolutely destroy a German team? Or even a Hull City team for that matter? You know, I'm probably more concerned and I'll probably learn more from the Hull City away game than what I ever will for two games where they've literally had to travel. You know, it's not ideal to the opposite side of the world again to play these games. And it's more about the commercial side and growing the club and team building and all that sort of thing. The highlight for me of this whole entire tour was seeing Joe Willock back, if I'm being honest. Seeing Joe Willock back has been the best moment by far, and I include goals and everything else in that. Seeing Joe Willock back and thinking, just, have this lad back for the majority of the season that's coming up will be absolutely and unbelievably a massive upgrade this season. You know, the way that he can run at pace, create chances, take players on, commit defenders into making challenges, creating space for the likes of Isak. Yeah, for me, that is the absolute number one highlight of the entire thing, seeing that lad back. It was great today to see, debuts from the likes of Kelly. Fantastic. But getting Joe Willock back, because I know the difference that Joe Willock can make to Newcastle United. So, after playing, around about 400 minutes last season, he played the same, actually slightly less minutes than Sandro Tonali last season. So if we're to get him back, you talk about Tonali being like a new signing, Joe Willock will be like a new signing. And again, you're talking about the options in the central midfield area, a massive, massive boost. And yeah, great news to see him back. Not involved today, but that always was part of the programme. That always was part of the planning. Was up in the stands. They're going to be very careful with regards to minutes and to building them up and to use them where we're going to be able to maximise them as most as possible. And I would expect to see a staggered approach at the beginning of the season. It's not going to be thrown in there straight away, but yeah, great to see the lad back. And long may it continue that he has a run of fitness now and a run of just being in the team. So that would be my sum up of the entire trip, just to see Joe Willock back. Let me know what you thought down below about it. But I've seen comments about Sean Longstaff and Miggy and stuff like this, and look, they've been great professionals for Newcastle United. I don't know what their long-term futures are for the club, but you know, at the moment they are employed by Newcastle United. Eddie Howe has spoken about the fact that they will be involved. So we've got to get behind. We've got to get behind all of the lads and give them maximum support. It just makes no sense just to jump on them straight away. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it develops. We'll see who is brought in, who is not brought in, what the budget actually is. Because there just seems to be lots of moving parts at the moment. I think beforehand, and we'll get there a little bit of transfers now, it looked like we were going to spend the majority of the budget on a right winger and then also sign a centre-back. Now, with this Gahey stuff, it looks as if we could be spending the majority of the budget on a centre-back, an absolute class centre-back, no doubt about it, but a centre-back, and then spending the remaining budget, you know, possibly on another right winger, right midfielder. And no doubt between now and the end of the transfer window, which is still, what, over a month away, there will be twists and there'll be turns, there'll be players that depart, there'll be extra budget that's saved up, and there'll be other signings made on top of these two signings, I'm sure of it. But I'm still quite relaxed at the moment. I was pleased, obviously, with the news with regards to a third striker as well. Now, obviously, the striker link came out of nowhere, but I've been saying this across the socials for quite a while. When you have got one of the world's best strikers in Alexander Isak, what striker are we going to bring in that's going to be happy just to play a second or third fiddle to him? You know, in a system that has one striker, you're not going to get too many of the, you know, top strikers who come in and say, you know what, I'm happy to sit on the bench and get a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes each game. I'm happy to be rotated in for the odd cup game. You're not going to get that. So, with the greatest of respect, Isak is, in striking terms, number one on the list. You've then got Callum Wilson, who Eddie Howe has said, I will keep him. I want to keep him this season. So if we take that as gospel and he will be number two striker, then you're looking at a third striker to be able to bring in, because it hasn't worked with Garang Kowal. I don't know whether it will work or it won't work. We will see how it goes. He's going to go out on loan, and it's a huge season for Garang, no doubt about it. But you always felt from that perspective, and I kept putting it up, it's either going to be somebody who comes into that third striker slot who is a youngster, and that fits the blueprint and the model and the business plan, massive tick, or somebody towards the end, a Peter Lovenkrands or somebody like that, a Kevin Gallagher, just somebody who you can bring in for the season, for a season or two, and then moves on. Not going to cost you much with regards to transfer fees. Now, it turns out that we've gone to the younger side of it, and that is the blueprint, remember, to sign and scour the football pyramid, to sign up some good, hungry, you know, youngsters into the system, embed them into the Newcastle United way, embed them into the Eddie Howe way, get them playing, and, you know, in future you either sell them on at a profit, or, you know, they're used to the Newcastle United way and they become great players on Tyneside. So we've gone for a youngster. He's big, he's good with his feet, he looks quite quick. Yes, he hasn't hit the side of a fucking barn and all that sort of thing for Sheffield United. But Sheffield United are one of the, and again, it's no disrespect to Sheffield United. I've got friends who are Sheffield United supporters, so there's nothing against Sheffield United. But they are one of the worst. They were one of the worst Premier League sides ever last season. They were getting destroyed left, right, and bastard centre. And your strikers are only going to be as good as the opportunities that they are afforded. And if they aren't given those chances, then, you know, you struggle really to criticise them too much, you know. So a good youngster, talented, quick on his feet, powerful, tall, Chris Wood replacement coming in. You know, a different coach, you know, different surroundings for him, different manager, so on and so forward. We'll see how it works at Newcastle United for the lad, because you know you've only got to look, and to me, this is how I go back now and judge transfers. Joselu, however you want to pronounce it, you know, he always put a shift in at Newcastle United. Always put a shift in, as I'm sure that he did at Stoke City beforehand. But there was no sign of the world beater, and there was no sign of a Champions League winner there at all during his times at both respective clubs. So to see him now go on, so he moves to the right club, the right league, the right manager, the right environment, and then look how he flourishes, and look at how successful that he can be. You know, done all of that for Real Madrid, and never saw that when he was at St James's Park. So again, it's a case of just the right set of circumstances for a player, and you just never know. So fingers crossed for this lad moving from Sheffield United. 10 million quid. At the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work out and we have to cut our losses, we're a few million down. £10 million today in today's market is absolutely nothing for this Asula lad. I don't really know anything of him. I know that he's a Danish international. I've seen the same videos that you will have seen, that you will have clipped, that you will have searched for on YouTube. And I've seen some encouraging signs. But his stats, his lack of goals, doesn't make for great reading. But am I going to get me fucking my pants in a fucking twist? Am I going to get my heart rate up, my blood pressure fucking boiling? No, not at this stage, because what I'll do is, if Eddie Howe wants him, I'd back that, and then I'll watch him myself, and I'll see how he plays, and I'll see how he fits into the Newcastle United system, and not judge him how he appears from playing in an absolute dog shit Sheffield United side, who were absolutely certain from relegation from the time that they got promoted, flogging off the best players, an ownership in flux, not spending what they needed to spend, so on and so forth. Look, they were in crisis last summer. And you're coming into that, they couldn't even afford the money to keep the undersoil heating on at the training ground. So, you know, a different setup, and you just never know. So fingers crossed that he comes and has an absolute, blinder, plays fantastic for Newcastle United. And we're all sitting there in a season or two saying, what an absolute bargain. Because, you know, we've got some great talented youngsters. The club has gone out this summer, signed some really, really encouraging, talented, huge potential players. We already had some others at the club. So can he add to the positivity? Can he add to the success stories that we're, planting for a few years' time? Who knows? But end of the day, worst case scenario, is that it doesn't work out, but we're not too much money down, you know. So the main story, the main gist with the transfers recently has been the Gay one. It's got the fans' hopes up again. It's got us optimistically looking towards things, and us thinking that we could have potentially 3/4 of the England, back line for the next decade, if we're able to pull this transfer off. And it's far from being done, from what I'm led to believe from the journalists and the people that I trust out there who are writing about this, and obviously far more knowledgeable. But the fact that we're in the conversation like we were before with Elise and stuff like that means that the money is there. It's just a case of how best to use it, how best to utilise it to give us the maximum back, so that we can have a successful season and hopefully get back into some sort of European competition, and who knows, hopefully end the curse with regards to some sort of trophy. That would be absolutely fantastic as well. But Gahey has spoke quite positively about Newcastle United before. He spoke in glowing terms about St James's Park and the fans and the atmosphere, and it seems like one that does have some sort of strength to it, some sort of kick to it. And we'll see how that one develops over the next couple of days. I don't expect it to be done here, there and then, because they're talking about the structure of the £65 million, how much is paid up front, how much is paid over instalments, and what future bonuses and stuff are there. Because I still think at 65 million, it's a decent price when you compare it to what Everton were quoting Manchester United not too long ago. So if we can bring him in, him and Botman, Gahey and Botman, sounds like a partnership that you can get the next 10 years out of. So then you look at the money that we've spent on that, say it was 65 and 30 odd for Botman, £100 million over the course of a decade, £10 million a season. Yeah, it's top level, it's elite, it's the finer details. You know, those two could play together for a long time, and then you've got other players who you can bring in and stuff as well. Kelly, I mean, he had a decent performance today. Not that we were champagne or anything else like that, but like I touched on before, it's a pre-season nothingness. You know, doesn't really matter. It's just about getting fitness and getting ready for that Southampton game. That's the important one on the horizon and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, didn't really make too much of a song and fuss and dance about all these pre-season stuff. Great that, you know, we're expanding the brand, trying to increase the commercial, which will ultimately help us sign more players in the future and to grow the club. But yeah, cannot wait for some more information on Gahey. It would be absolutely fantastic. It would take a little bit of the doom and gloom off the transfer situation so far, because I think we've had a decent window, but I think it's because there was a flurry at the beginning of the month and then there's not been much since. But you know, with new bosses coming in, there's relationships that need to be sorted, there's conversations that need to be had. And those don't take place overnight. There may be some fresh ideas being thrown into the mix as well. So that has slightly delayed things, but like I touched upon before as well, you've got the Euros, you've got as well all the competitions abroad. It does take time. Just keep my eye on somebody reversing from beside of us there. Look, it was a little bit hairy there for a moment, but yeah, it does. It takes time. Everybody's at different fitness levels. There's players who are coming back. They've been on holiday, so they're not been wanting to talk about transfers and stuff. So it does push it back a little bit. It does complicate matters somewhat. And I'm sure that by the end of the transfer window, the squad will be in a healthier, more robust situation, and it will have the tools there to be able to do what we need to do. I'm going to move here because I think this is, yeah, it's not the greatest place in the world to park, to be honest. So we'll try parking somewhere else. But yeah, at the end of the day, the new ownership, since they have come in, they haven't got everything right. There's been bumps. There's been, you know, peaks and troughs. There's been some things that have worked and some things that haven't. But by and large, they've got the majority of the decisions right, and everything that they have said, that they have promised, that they you know, set out on their mission statement, they have achieved so far. So I have no problem and no worries about them, you know, getting to where they want to go in the end. It's just hard against the systems that are in place in you know, British football. The Premier League's rules, PSR and all that, are the biggest sack of shit that you are ever likely to want to see. They are anti-competitive. They're designed to keep the elite in their comfort zone, you know, to keep them in their pedestal and to keep everybody else down and from challenging. So to sort of change the narrative, it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to take a bit of patience. But they've stuck to everything else that they've said so far. So I have no doubt that they will stick to, again, what they are saying with regards to transfers and to spending as much money as the headroom allows us to on PSR. So again, 1000% confidence. And just remember that, you know, when the fan base is united, when the club is united, the players and everybody else is united, is when we have had our most success as a football club. So fingers crossed that you know, continues. Fingers crossed we get the signings done, but clearly the money is there. The money is there to go out and to make the signings, because they wouldn't be putting the bids in otherwise. And there's too many trusted journalists, reliable journalists. We're not talking about you know, your Luke Edwards of the world. We're actually talking about people who have contacts in at the club, who are saying stuff, who are suggesting stuff. So we'll see how that one goes. but there's still time. Yes, ideally it would have been great to be able to bring in players at the beginning of the transfer window, get it all done, all dusted, so that Eddie had time to work with them. Because again, you want to avoid the situation like Lewis Hall was talking about recently, when you're bringing in a player and it takes them 5 or 6 months to get up to Newcastle United fitness or Eddie Howe proof. You want to avoid that if at all possible. But sometimes in the real world, with other things going on, then it just does take the time that it takes, unfortunately. At least we are making moves, we are making telephone calls, we are pushing the club. We do have hope, we do have ambition, because under Mike Ashley, we had fuck all but those giant bastard Sports Direct mugs. So at the end of the day, I think we just all need to just sit tight and hopefully at least one transfer in before the Salah weekend would be nice, and I think it would boost ticket sales and just calm everybody down. So let me know what you think about all of that down below with regards to transfers, the PIF, how it's going so far, the pre-season friendlies. Like I said, I'm not particularly asked about 2 victories. I'm not going to get over the top about the fucking win. I'm not going to get too low about the loss. Take it on the chin. And look forward to next weekend again, when the result, it really doesn't matter. If we get beat in the game, but everybody gets through fit and okay, and then we smash Southampton, I'm perfectly fine with that. Ideally, you want us to win all the time. It then breeds a culture, doesn't it, of just winning all the time. But I just don't see in the big scheme of things how it makes that much difference. A couple of pre-season games, or it's not as if we're even sort of full strength in these games. It's mix, it's match, it's patched up, it's we've got players here who if it was a Premier League game would play, but the fact that it's just a pre-season game, we're not going to risk them. We're not going to overload it or overburden at this stage of the season. So yeah, that's a bit safer, a bit better and stuff. So yeah, I take everything with a pinch of salt. I think I've been there, I've seen it, I've got the t-shirt. Yes, I want us to win all the time, but I'm not particularly arsed at pre-season too much about that sort of thing. Fingers crossed, like I said, when we come up to reviewing the Salah weekender, that everybody's in a better frame of mind. Hopefully 1 or 2 of you will have gone in to see the new fan zone, which opens on Thursday. And then we're building up to Southampton. Cannot wait for that game. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether we sell Ryan Fraser between now and that game. He might have a point to prove. Will he be a match fit? Would they throw him in for that sort of game? And Newcastle United holding them back until after that game? Yeah, you just don't know. Conspiracy theories down below. Let's read them. I don't mind a conspiracy theory and stuff like that. Don't mind reading up on that sort of thing. And having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a chuckle. But yes, no doubt, plenty of comings in, plenty of goings out between now and the end of the transfer window. Get them all down below. We'll of course keep bringing you all the news, the views, the opinions and everything else across the rest of the socials for Magpie 24/7. Thank you for your continued support, and in the meantime, take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.